Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Go ahead.
Check 1 2. Check 1 2. Hi, welcome to our channel, The Freedom Habit. My name is Michelle. This is my husband, Boyd. And today we're talking about limited beliefs.
Yeah, limiting or self-imposed beliefs are usually put there by other people like our parents or a teacher. Something like you're shy, you're not good at math, you're the slowest kid in the class, whatever.
Yeah.
People say that, or it could just even be a friend. Someone could say something to you and it strikes you as truth. So basically, that's what limiting beliefs are. Just things that we have now taken to be truthful, even though they were just statements made by a person. We now look at them as that's the truth about us.
Right.
And like it's an unchangeable truth. Like I've never been good at math or something like that. And
Yes.
that doesn't have to
Something
be true.
we've come to accept,
Yes.
which limits us.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. The first one I was going to talk about is childhood criticism, which can lead to I'm not enough, to feeling like you're not enough. And like Boyd was saying, and without even realizing, our parents or society, even our religion can put limited beliefs on us. And we do. We carry them throughout our lifetime unless we start to recognize them and change them. Because the thing about it is, when you don't feel like you're enough, it affects you in ways that you may not even realize.
I was brought up a Catholic, and one of the statements that you have to make in every Catholic Mass is, Lord, I'm not worthy to receive you, but only say the word and I shall be healed. So you are constantly bombarded that you are not worthy. And that's not even in the Bible. That verse, or whatever, that statement isn't even a biblical statement. But they want you to think that you're not worthy. Well, you know what? I think if God sent Jesus down to die on the cross for all of us, he must have thought we were worth it. Or I don't think he would have done it.
Right.
So that's another example. That's a societal brainwash, a thing that you just constantly state every Sunday or several times a week if you go to church more than once a week. And then you come to believe that.
Right. And plus we go to school and they want us to all do the same thing. Everyone has to sit down, we have to be quiet, and if we're like disruptive, then we're compared to the other children.
Yeah.
You're disruptive. Why aren't you like Timmy? Look how well Timmy's sitting down. So there's these constant barrage of things coming at us at a young age, and we don't really even, they just go in our heads and we don't even really realize how profound they are in our lives.
Yeah.
So
I remember, and this is just one example, I remember I spilled a glass of grape juice, and I was sitting at a plastic little kids table, but I spilled a glass of grape juice, and my mom said, what's wrong with you? Your cousin blah, blah, blah wouldn't do that. And I don't know. I felt horrible. Like I was like not normal. Right. Like over something like spilling a drink when you're 5 years old or something.
Right. Which brings me to this. These things that are said to us, these are generational as well. I mean, we're not blaming our parents. We're not blaming religion. These are, whatever might, exactly. That's what they were taught. That's what their parents taught them. Their parents were taught by their parents. So at some point we have to stop and say, all right, the buck stops here.
Well, they did the best they could with what they knew, but yeah, it was,
exactly.
We were told all kinds of things that just damaged us, and they were told the same thing. So right. The same thing happened to them.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So one of the ways we can combat this is to, there's a couple of things we've talked about, obviously, is mindfulness, and catch yourself when you're saying negative things to yourself and flip it in a positive manner. We talked about the I am statements. Looking yourself in the mirror in the morning and saying things like, I am worthy. I am not hard to love. I am capable. I'm strong. I'm powerful. Whatever you need to say to help get some of those negative programs out of your mind.
I'm competent, confident, courageous, capable, complete,
There you go.
creative.
I forgot you did that. Boyd does that where he uses a letter. His letter is C.
Well, I have a couple, but yeah.
Yeah. So with that, he was naming words like I am, and every word started with the C, which helps you remember. That's a good idea. I got to do that.
If this video resonates with you, please leave us a message. Please subscribe. Please like. We love to hear from you guys, so please leave a comment. That'd be great.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
Another one of my limiting beliefs is betrayal. And the limiting belief is that nobody should be trusted, because when you're betrayed, you feel like, well, obviously you trust that person. Because if you didn't trust them, you couldn't be betrayed by them.
Right.
And I had that happen in a business. I've had that happen personally with my own siblings and my own children. So yeah, I've had quite a bit of betrayal in my life. The business situation was, I started a business when I was 26 with a guy who was 22. It was a mobile x-ray company. And him and his mother were doing illegal stuff with charging Medicare too much. And his mom was also taking x-rays, and she wasn't even an x-ray tech. He taught her how to take x-rays. So I didn't even know any of this was going on, because when I was working, he was covering the business, and when he was working, I was covering the business.
Right.
So we never really worked together. We took different shifts, so I had no idea. And then all of a sudden, Medicare shut us down because he was doing an EKG on every chest X-ray, and you weren't allowed to do that.
Right.
I know what it's like to be betrayed. One of the things too about betrayal is you have a struggle with intimacy again. Like you have a trouble befriending people because you feel like, I don't know, you don't really want to make yourself vulnerable anymore because you feel like you've been taken advantage of. So.
And I also think that when I've been betrayed, I almost don't trust myself again. Like it's hard for me to trust my choices, because I made this choice and that person betrayed me. Then obviously something must be wrong with my choices.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, as a matter of fact, one of the things that's really important when you're trying to overcome betrayal is learning to trust yourself.
Yeah.
And learning to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Like I really believe that. I just learned that in the last couple of years, unfortunately. I guess everybody kind of knows you should keep the promises you make to yourself, but I didn't realize how important that was.
Right.
Because for you to trust yourself, you gotta. If you say you're not gonna, if you say you're gonna start working out, then start going to the gym and working out. If you say you're gonna lose weight, then lose that 5 or 10 pounds or whatever. Whatever it is, keep those little promises. I know it doesn't seem like much, but
I think we got used to that. Like every year we're doing a New Year's resolution every year. But how many times have we actually followed through every New Year's resolution?
Yeah, breaking your promises and backing out of your commitments has become like it's a New Year's joke. People say, I'm going to commit to this, I'm going to do this. And most people don't do it.
Right.
So we've kind of normalized breaking our promises to ourselves, which makes us not trust ourselves as much. And you can't trust anybody else if you can't trust yourself.
That's right. That's right. You can't give away what you don't have.
Exactly.
All right. So the next limited belief is the fear of failure. And sometimes we can be so afraid of failure that we actually do nothing. We freeze and we do nothing, which is way worse than actually doing something and failing. I mean, you're not failing if you continue to try.
Yeah.
So in the early 2000s, there was this researcher. His name was David Conroy, and he was doing research on college athletes that were afraid of failure. And actually, what he found out is they weren't afraid of failure at all, because there's 5 specific things that go under failure. One is the fear of shame, like we don't want to be embarrassed. But how many times have we been embarrassed and we've actually lived through it?
Yeah.
So that's one of them. The second one is devaluating yourself. We're afraid that if I fail, I'm not the person who I thought I was. So that's the second one. The third one is the fear of our future. Like if I fail, then all of my future plans are gone.
Right. Which isn't necessarily true, but we
Right.
associate it.
Right. It's that limited belief. The fourth one is the fear of how others will see me. It's that embarrassment. They'll think differently of me because I failed. They'll think I'm a loser. Those are things that we will tell ourselves. And the fifth one is fear of upsetting other people, like our parents, letting our parents down. That's one of our fears. So what you can do is like take those 5 and try to identify which one is you. And this is how you can figure out how to take a step forward, is by examining what's holding you back, what fear is holding you back. And the more you look into that, the more you have a better understanding of yourself and that limiting belief, so that you can work on changing that mindset and getting rid of that belief. Right after high school, I went to college for a semester. It was the first time I was away from home, and I was, thinking I was an adult, going out and doing things, sleeping in, missing classes. So I lasted for a semester. And then years later, I really wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my degree. I wanted to show myself that I had the capability and the intelligence to get my degree. So I went back to Point Park University and I majored in IT. And I did this not because it was something I wanted to do, not because I was passionate about it. I did it because I didn't want to have my parents disappointed in me, like we talked about just a few minutes ago. So I started out in IT and I was awful. I was awful at it. So finally, I was in my last semester and I switched over to business management. And that's where I thrived. That's where I did well. Made the dean's list. So there's an example of, I was afraid to go back to college because I was afraid of failing. And then when I went back, I was afraid of failing in IT. And finally, I just, looked inside myself and decided, I'm the one who has to work this. So that's my experience of the fear of failure.
It's a great example.
Thanks.
Another one of my limiting beliefs is rejection.
Hmm.
When we're rejected as children, we feel unworthy of love, or that we need to earn love. I wasn't rejected as if I was ignored.
Right.
As a matter of fact, it was kind of the opposite. You could walk into a room and you would be mocked. Like my dad would make fun of you and tease you, and or your sister, because I had a couple older sisters too. So your sisters would be picking on you, your dad would be picking on you. Sometimes, honestly, on Saturday morning, I hated to come down from my bedroom into the kitchen because I knew everybody was in there and they were going to be like, "Look at your hair! Look at what's up with those pajamas you're wearing." Like, just like mock. All you had to do was walk into a room and you were getting made fun of. I mean, it was just. And I know it's okay to tease people once in a while, but this was kind of incessant, nonstop. And they did it. My dad teased my sisters and me, and my mom didn't like it. So then my mom would be like, "Boy, leave him alone." So it was always this it was tension, and it was palpable,
Right.
and it made you really uncomfortable. So in a way, that's rejection, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. My house was a little bit opposite. When there was tension, everyone kind of went on their own to their own bedrooms, and it was quiet. There was silence. And
so that really is almost like rejection.
That,
you were left alone.
That felt like
abandoned.
rejection to me.
Almost like abandoned.
Yes.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's what it felt like. And, like I said, my parents learned from their parents and their parents learned from their parents. But yeah, there's things that we don't even realize are being put in our subconscious.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I know sometimes when you get upset, sometimes you just want to get quiet and like go lay down, like go to bed or just sleep it off or something, like sleep until you feel better. You're aware that you do that.
Yes,
and you
I do. I do that.
Right.
I do. I do that. Well, yeah, I do.
The thing about rejection really is if you don't accept it and take it on yourself, then it really doesn't belong to you. Like Buddha, I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't remember what he said, but basically if someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, who does that gift belong to? And it's the same thing with an insult or with judgment.
Right.
If you don't believe it or buy into it, then it's just like washes right off your back and you just keep going on. And it belongs to that person who judged you. I mean, in a sense, it's coming back on them, So, we don't know that when we're kids.
Right.
But ultimately, though, that is the truth about rejection, is if you don't buy into it, it doesn't really belong to you.
And that's why this is so important for our healing, is to recognize these beliefs, to call ourselves out and ask ourselves, is this even true? Like, I believe this, but is this true? Because we're constantly evolving and growing, and, something that we liked last year, we might not like this year.
That's why it's so important to be aware of your thoughts. Like when I sometimes talk about just being in the moment and being aware of your thoughts as they rise up, you'll notice that you're feeling those old emotions, or that you're thinking about something that happened years ago, and you can still feel that old familiar pain,
Right.
But as you see it and release it, it starts fading. You turn the volume down on it and it starts fading, and it just doesn't mean that much to you. After a while, you could think of it and you're like, oh yeah, well, whatever, So it doesn't bother you anymore, as long as it still holds power over you to make you feel negative about yourself. Then you haven't resolved it,
Yes.
So.
And not every thought that pops in our head is our own. Just because something comes in your head doesn't mean you got to grab a hold of it and believe it.
Yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people, and I know I've thought this for years too. We think the thoughts that pop up in our head are us. Like, why are you thinking that? What's wrong? Like, why are you doing, like, whatever? And it's not us.
Right.
It's just thoughts. It's even like we pick up the thoughts of other people around us. There's vibrations and energy. So thoughts just pass by. They don't mean anything.
Yeah, they're like clouds.
Yeah, we're like the blue sky, and they're like clouds just passing through it. Yeah. As long as we're still the blue sky the whole time, but the clouds are there, coming by. They could be white, which are happy. They could be gray, which are sad. They could be storm clouds. So, but as long as we see ourselves as the blue sky, that everything else is just going past it. It's not really affecting us.
Right.
It doesn't have to if we don't let it, if we choose not to let it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time.
Have a great day.